I've never done PCP. So what does PCP do?
Well, you just said PCP like it was sushi. Like, you don't have to admit that I've never tried PCP. But I hear there's a great PCP joint right around the corner.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked out.
Welcome back to Shat The Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we love and growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you even remember what Blockbuster Video was? If you answered yes, and this is the podcast for you, I'm one of your three co-hosts, Roger Roper, and alongside me are my two co-hosts, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good morning.
And Gene L.A. Stallions Lyons.
For your information, a lot of people think I'm funny.
And each week we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films still hold up. Each week the audience selects from 6 movie choices that we then break out a race car VHS type rewinder and watch the movie that tallied the highest number of votes. At the end of each podcast, the three of us will provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective bums. So thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. You can also leave a 5-star review for us on iTunes. Both those activities really do help the podcast grow. And you can also check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, and Game of Thrones. That being said, Big D, what movie are we doing this evening? Actually, it's the morning. I can't lie. It's fucking really early in the morning. I just got back in from New York City late last night, and we're recording at 7 a.m. Arizona.
Yeah, this is the earliest I think we've ever recorded. Normally it's like 1 a.m. for me. So thank you for being a trooper, Gene.
No problem. I actually helped Carrie. I was over at Carrie's helping her assemble furniture until about like midnight, and then fell asleep with my shoes on the floor. And so Carrie, being kind as she is, took my shoes off me and put a blanket on me.
Aw,
thanks, Carrie.
That's true friendship. True podcast.
No, didn't give me a bed to sleep in. Just put a blanket on me and took my shoes
That's
off.
what you'd expect. She's cold-hearted, but she's not
Right.
careless.
She's nihilistic in nature, but she'll still make sure you survive the night.
Yeah, so the movie that we're doing today is a very special one. It was a commissioned podcast from one of our listeners, Edwin. And Edwin had wanted to see The Last Boy Scout. It's up for vote in a couple categories, but it always seems to lose. So he just decided to cut the line, get the fast pass, and do it. So he said, "Hello, Shat Crew. I love the podcast. I listen to it while I drive and work out, or putting my beautiful 3-year-old and 7-month-old daughters to sleep. You guys make the time fly by no matter what I'm doing. The first time I watched The Last Boy Scout, I was 11, and I rented it from Blockbuster. My mom would let me rent any movie as long as the cover didn't have scantily dressed women on it. And that's why I like this movie. Joe Hallenbeck, Bruce Willis was calm, collective, no matter how much shit was going on. He was such a loser, but still cool, great underdog character, up there with Die Hard in my humble opinion. The Last Boy Scout had at least 3 scenes that terrorized my 11-year-old self. Billy Cole scoring a touchdown, Hallenbeck's wife cheating on him, and Halle Berry's character getting gunned down. But then Hallenbeck had me laughing a few seconds later. My parents were going through a divorce at the time. I would feel torn down, then build myself back up. I guess I related to Joe Hallenbeck. Okay, guys, thanks for your time, Edwin."
Yeah, Edwin, thank you so much for commissioning and writing in your memories of this movie. If you do want to send in a commission, you can find the link on our website, shatthemovies.com. A commission is anywhere, I think, $100 or more. But yeah, no, listen, Edwin, I'm going to apologize out the gate, and not to spoil this for you, because it seems like this movie really does have an impact on your life. And sometimes movies have that. I just want to apologize in the outset for what I'm about to do to this movie that had such a great impact on your life. But thank you so much for your money. We really appreciate it.
I'm just imagining Roger as a judge in a courtroom. What I'm about to do to this movie, not how I felt about this movie, but what I'm about to do to it. He's not going to lubricate this. He's not going to take it out for dinner first. This is going to be just a rough screw of your memories, Edwin.
Yeah, this is going to be the grinder review of Shat the Movies is basically what I'm saying.
So listen, I want to just clarify something Roger said. Yes, over $100 is nice and it helps us, but don't think you're going to commission Prince of Tides for $100 because that's not going to happen.
There's a sliding progressive scale is what you're saying.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Edwin, Big D and I hope to objectively balance out this review, so you're not entirely alone in this one. This movie has a lot to offer, and we're going to highlight some of the things it does really well.
Well, The Last Boy Scout is a 1991 American comedy action film directed by Tony Scott with a script written by Shane Black and stars Bruce Willis, Damon Wayans, and an extremely young Halle Berry. Once a first-rate Secret Service agent, Joe Hallenbeck, played by Bruce Willis, is now a gruff private investigator whose latest gig is protecting a pole dancer, played by Halle Berry. When she's murdered, he grudgingly teams up with her ex-NFL boyfriend, Jimmy Dix, played by Damon Wayans, who's a quarterback with a gambling problem that got him kicked out of the NFL. And the two go after her killers together. Not before long, they stumble onto a plot by a well-known football magnate, played by Noble Willingham, to bribe federal legislators into legalizing sports gambling. Roger Ebert, again, I don't know who the fuck that is, described The Last Boy Scout as a superb example of what it is: a glossy, skillful, cynical, smart, utterly corrupt, and vilely misogynistic action thriller. We always ask the question, where were you the first time you watched this movie? We'll start with you, Gene Lyons.
You know, guys, I'd never seen this movie in its entirety. I think that when I was a preteen, I watched like the first 20 minutes of this, and I felt it to be way too adult. I was like disinterested. I think I just went outside to play. It was like all the things about adult movies that I didn't like and nothing that I really found interesting. So I just kind of wandered off.
Yeah, I too have never seen this movie all the way through. I've been aware of it, and I remember my parents renting it one summer when we were hanging out with my godparents, but I wasn't allowed to watch it due to the adult themes. I was made to leave the room after Billy shoots up the other football player. So yeah, no, I've never seen this movie all the way through, and I'm sadder as a result of watching it today. What about you, Big D?
Yeah, so this one holds a warm place in my heart. It was the winter, I think, of 93 when it came out. I was living in Sweden at the time. I was extremely homesick. When this came out, I remember going to the theater, and it made me think about the U.S. It made me think about my friends. I loved it. And I don't know if that's why I still have that nostalgic tie to it, and it has an emotional connection to me. Maybe it's more my situation when I watched it than the movie itself. So I will always remember this movie.
But with that being said, Big D, play the trailer.
This ain't no game, Flash.
Joe Hallenbeck's a private detective who's run out of luck.
If you touch me again, I'll kill you.
2 for 2.
Told you.
Jimmy Dix
I like Prince.
is an ex-quarterback who was thrown out of football.
Another tragic tale of wasted youth. You're nobody. Shh. Don't tell anyone.
They were trying to clean up their acts
You wreck him, I'll dust him.
when they got dragged into the dirty world of sports corruption.
So you're gonna bribe some senators to legalize again? Legalize.
Sports gambling. Now,
Son, we're going to a ball game.
they've got one shot
What am I gonna do? Point it at the bad guys and shoot!
to get the goods on the bad guys.
Just once, I would like to hear you scream.
Play some rap music. Out of ideas, man. Take your best shot.
If they don't kill each other first.
That was a bomb? That or a hell of a factory recall.
Bruce Willis, Damon Wayans, The Last Boy Scout.
Danger's my middle name.
Mine's Cornelius. Tell anybody I kill you.
LA Stallions running back Billy Cole, played by Billy Blanks, receives a phone call from a mysterious man named Milo, who warns him to win the game or he will be assassinated. Cole ingests PCP and, in a drug-induced rage after halftime, brings a gun onto the field, shooting 3 opposing players to reach the end zone. Cole then takes off his helmet and shoots himself in the head.
So before the shooting happens, I'm all on board with this movie because it opens up and I felt like I just put a VHS tape into like the VHS player. And, it got like the weird like distortion on it. I felt like I was watching the opening of like Saved by the Bell, but it took me back to those days when, when Hank was doing the Monday Night Football intro. It's just like the most 90s thing I've ever seen, this opening music montage. There's laser graphics. I thought it was Steve Winwood on the screen. I was like, holy shit, is that Steve Winwood? Not Steve Winwood. But they had the horn sections, the black soul singers backing up an old white guy, slow motion football, and those gigantic pads that they used to wear. Like, remember how big football pads used to be? The whole thing was this perfect, amazing 90s time capsule, and that unforgettable hook for that song, that Friday night's a great night for football. Like, I was on board 100%, and then it just went really downhill very quickly.
Isn't it kind of odd that you said the giant shoulder pads and the big uniforms football? In the 90s, all the NBA shorts were like super, super tiny. It was definitely a 90s thing. But did you guys ever play Tecmo Bowl?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking Bo Jackson on the Raiders was unstoppable. Billy Cole on PCP, he is Bo Jack. He's just running people over. I know it's fucked up and it's not good for you. It's like human cockfighting. I would definitely watch an all PCP football league.
But the thing with the PCP that I don't understand is he gets that phone call from Milo that's like, hey, you better score a lot of touchdowns. And like, that's the opposite of how you're supposed to fix games. Like if you watch like Pulp Fiction, right? They call Bruce Willis and they're like, you go down in this round. You don't tell the guy to win. Everybody wants to win. What the fuck?
Yeah, you bet the under. You bet that they're not going to score. You bet the guy is not going to perform well, right? You don't bet that Babe Ruth is going to call a shot and hit a home run for a sick cancer kid.
Yeah, you call a dive. You take a dive. You don't take a leap. That's not how it works.
Which, by the way, the leap in Tecmo Bowl, best cutscene ever.
Yes, it is.
All comes full circle.
But this is why the NFL refuses to license movies, right? Like, because they don't want that stigma, even though this movie is clearly an analogy for the NFL. I mean, you think about like all the best football movies, with the exception of Jerry Maguire. Can you name any other movie that allows NFL licensing?
Yeah, Little Giants. Fucking Giants against the Cowboys. That shit real.
I mean, shit, if I was the NFL, I wouldn't say okay to this movie either. The way they depict pro football is like the whole field is like pitch black. The locker room looks like a Turkish prison. Like I expected Kevin Costner to come out of there with a beard at some point.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
Yeah, Tony Scott. There's a definite style that is, you can see it's him right away. But a lot of Tony Scott's movies, I feel like they're like 4D. There's like a smell to it. When you're watching Days of Thunder, you can smell burning rubber. Or if it's Top Gun, I can smell baby oil and just sweaty jorts. I can smell it.
Sweaty jorts.
When they go into the locker room, it's like steamy, it's dark. I can smell it's disgusting. I almost gagged. I'd probably take PCP too if I had to hang out in that locker room.
The problem that I have with Tony Scott is I have no idea what's happening. Once you transition from Friday Night Football, which is obviously an homage to Monday Night Football and Hank Williams, you get that there's a football game that's happening and it's muddy and it's rainy, which doesn't make sense because it's fucking LA and it never rains there. But let's put that aside. You don't know why this guy has a fucking gun. This feels like a shitty Michael Bay movie. There's a lot of things happening visually, but I have no idea what's being presented to me. So it's difficult for me as a first-time viewer all the way through of this movie to really, truly understand what's happening. And if you have to make your audience guess what's happening, or they lose interest quickly. And that's what I felt happening. And then I think to myself, holy shit, is that the same Billy Blanks from Tybo? Like, I just can't get immersed in this movie. It's difficult right off the bat.
But you're missing the point of that opening scene. It isn't about Billy. It's to establish that the football league is failing. Attendance is down. Viewership is down. There's no heroes left. Free agency is killing the damn game.
That's all right. I'll get to the free agency thing. But if they're trying to tell all of that, then why don't they show stands that are empty versus stands that are completely full with fans that are standing there throughout the rain? Why do they show, an exciting halftime show? Why do they show, an entire field filled with security and police officers, if this is a failing league because of free agency and because of reduced viewership that they have to induce legalized gambling in order to save it, show me that. Don't show me what is essentially the blueprint for, any given Sunday, right? That's exactly the blueprint.
But Raj, you've done point of sale stuff. You know how sports work. It's not like a gradual decline. A league that big with that much funding going through it and that much writing on it can collapse very, very quickly. And I think that's the moment that they're trying to capture. But beyond all of that, this kind of set the tone for the movie where it's like you just never know what to expect. Tony Scott's sending a message to you. No one is safe. You're not going to be able to guess what's happening next. And I'll tell you, the first time I saw this, I did not expect a football player running down the field to pull out a gun and start shooting people's kneecaps out. It doesn't make any sense at all, but it's just telling you, like, this is the world that you're going to inhabit for the next 2 hours.
I've never done PCP. The only times that I've ever heard reference to PCP is in this movie, and then prior to that was Training Day when Ethan Hawke smokes a little bit of a joint, and he's like, "What is that?" "That's angel dust, baby. PCP," and he starts all freaking out. So what does PCP do?
Well, you just said PCP like it was sushi. Like, you don't have to admit that I've never tried PCP, but I hear there's a great PCP joint right around the corner. I mean, you live in Scottsdale, there's PCP everywhere. No, PCP, if my DARE training serves me correctly, it is the hard drug. I've heard like superhuman strength. Yeah. Whenever you're doing self-defense classes and they're teaching you about like, strike people in the groin, strike people in the throat, whatever. And then they're always like, caveat, if they're on PCP, that's not going to work. Like, pain is not going to affect them at all.
Yeah, I think you just answered it. Don't you ever watch Cops?
No.
When there's the dude who's raging out and it takes like 2 police dogs, 4 guys with batons to get him down. That's what PCP does, but maybe that's why he shot him, because he got all fucking PCP'd out and just lost his mind.
Yeah, if PCP, though, turns you into what sounds like the Incredible Hulk, why do you need a gun? You can just bowl over everyone. If you're fucking Bo Jackson, Billy Blanks, you don't need the gun.
Oh, well, the other part of PCP, though, is it causes like disassociative hallucinations. So he may not, like, he may think they're dragons or something. Like, he's not really thinking, I mean, listen, ain't life a bitch?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the next scene, private investigator Joe Hallenbeck, a disgraced former Secret Service agent, discovers that his wife, Sarah, is having an affair with his best friend and business partner, Mike Matthews. Mike gives Joe an assignment to act as a bodyguard for a stripper named Corey. Mike is then killed by a car bomb outside Joe's house.
So Hallenbeck, or let's just say Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis, in a lot of his movies, plays this same guy. This tough guy cop, ex-military, ex-Secret Service. This is the one role, though, where Willis, he plays a character who just does not give a fuck. He cannot be rattled. Nothing gets him upset. He never screams. He never loses his temper. For God's sake, in the first 2 minutes, he's passed out in a car. He pulls a gun on a child. He's got a dead squirrel on his chest, and he jokes, maybe I fucked the squirrel to death. He even catches his wife cheating, sleeping with his best friend, and what does he do? He just punches him once and decides to still work for him. Hallenbeck is a fucking badass.
Yeah, but all right, the problem that I have with this is supposed to be the allure of Bruce Willis, like his everyman character. We talked about the delineation between Bruce Willis's everyman character and Steven Seagal's version of an everyman character in Under Siege. He seemed to always play, Bruce Willis did, this degenerate, underachieving drunk that sleeps in his car. This was every movie of Bruce Willis's career from the 80s and 90s. He's now then transitioned into, if you've watched any of the Die Hard sequels after Die Hard with a Vengeance, into more of like a superhero character that can't be damaged, and it's very fucking over the top and unbelievable. Which version of Bruce Willis do you like? Do you like this degenerate Hallenbeck, John McClane, or do you prefer the Bruce Willis shaved head, punching people, fucking jumping out of, airplanes and helicopters, on the LA freeways? Which Bruce Willis action hero do you most identify with?
I mean, I think they're just different flavors of the same guy. It's not like a hard break, because if you look at Bruce Willis in this movie, he's killing people with single punches.
Mhm.
He's getting the shit beat out of him, and he's just fine. I mean, dude takes a knife to the fucking quad, and he's like doing a jig a minute later. So I mean,
walks it off.
yeah. So I mean, but I do see what you're saying, Raj. I think it's a progression of the same type of character, but that doesn't make me as sad as like say like the remake of Death Wish, where he's just playing this like paint by numbers, sort of action character. That I don't like at all. But this Bruce Willis, the crazy thing about him though is you mentioned that he's like this like disheveled, like everyman sort of thing, but he somehow makes it sexy, which is weird. Like I'm looking at him and like he just woke up in a car, his hair's all fucked up. He's got like a dirty A shirt on, and I'm still like, all right, yeah.
See, but it's a decoy. He looks like his shit is not together. He looks disheveled, down on his luck, and a loser. He's not. He's sleeping in his car because he's just self-loathing. He's got a house at home. He's got a family. He's obviously got money. He's living in a nice area. So that's all to lull us into a sense that he is a loser, so that when he breaks out his superpower skills, like making the big pimp laugh and then shanks him with the bottle, that catches us by surprise. He is not the everyman. In this one, he is the most skilled of any Bruce Willis characters.
Do you think Joe Hallenbeck is tired and sleeping in his car because he's been driving around the county of LA, the city of LA, doing stand-up gigs, moonlighting as a fucking stand-up? Because they really want you to believe that he's the funniest fucker alive.
Yeah, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Like I like the as Big D mentioned, I think I fucked a squirrel to death, or like, when he gets in the car, there's that sort of bipolar like comedy and tragedy of nobody likes you, everybody hates you, you're gonna lose, smile you fuck, like those are like great lines. Or the my personal favorite of the entire movie is when Mike asks him like, how long we've been friends, and he's like, I'd say about till you started banging my wife. Like that's the kind of shit that I love. And then it deteriorates at parts of the movie where, like you said, Raj, it's like forced jokes where you're just like, okay, enough, like let's get on with the movie, please.
Yeah, this was peak Bruce Willis, right? He had come off of Moonlighting unexpectedly, was a huge success with Die Hard, and this was his follow-up movie. So he is playing almost the same character, and I guess at the time, people expected Bruce Willis to be funny because Moonlighting was a comedy. Like he was genuinely funny. But it almost feels like he's fucking phoning it in. This is his second big movie. No, I feel he's phoning it in.
You're lucky I don't have the what kind of babbling bullshit is this ready? This is the kind of analytics you'll get from Roger Roper. He said this was his follow-up role to Die Hard.
Yeah.
After Die Hard, he did In Country, Look Who's Talking, Die Hard 2, Look Who's Talking 2, Bonfire of the Vanities, Mortal Thoughts, Hudson Hawk, Billy Bathgate, and then The Last Boy Scout. So nice try.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, he played a baby in Look Who's Talking. Die Hard 2. Okay.
Let's roll.
Let's
keep it going.
All right. The problem that I have also is this an appropriate manner to deal with your cheating wife? Like, have you ever caught a partner red-handed? How did you deal with it?
Like shooting a gun through a closet. I mean, that's not an appropriate way to deal with it. I don't think you should involve firearms at any point. The closest I came to it, like, first of all, I want to backtrack and say, I think all of us would like to think that we've never been cheated on. I don't know for a fact I ever have been, but like, come on. You know you have at some point.
Sure.
And so,
sure.
So the closest I came was I had a girlfriend who lived with me, and I was working as a night editor at a paper. And so I had a photographer who worked at that paper too. And it was another dude. And so we all kind of hung out together. But some nights he would get off work at like 8 or 9, and I'd be there until midnight. And so he would go over to my house and hang out with her until, I got home, and we'd all hang out together, watch a movie or whatever. And one night I came home and they'd been drinking pretty heavily. She was a pretty big drinker. And I found them both passed out on the couch together. And he was kind of like drunkenly kissing her forearm.
Ooh.
And I got him up and I was like, hey, listen, you need to leave right now. Very calmly. I didn't freak out on him or whatever. I was just like, you need to get out of here right now. And then I told her basically like, hey, listen, take your time or whatever, but you need to pack your shit up and move out. Like that was that.
Wow.
You fucking Joe Hallenbeck it.
But it wasn't like, but I didn't pull a gun out or freak out or anything like that. It was just like, hey, I handled it, and I gave her 10 days, and she moved her shit out. And I flew back to Arizona for 10 days, came back, and we took care of it.
So I'll preface this by saying, before my wife, I cheated on 100% of my girlfriends. Okay, my wife.
Big D, what?
Oh, Big D was a lady killer.
My world is crumbling.
No,
what
listen,
the
you
fuck?
should see We should see pictures of Big D when he was in the army and right out of the army. Dude, 6'7", ripped, loved going to raves at Disney. He was like a fucking magnet. Have you seen old pictures of Andre the Giant? Like 1967 Andre the Giant, before he would drink 27 bottles of wine a day. Women were attracted to him, and he would revel in it. He would, like, there's pictures of him holding beautiful women, on the French beaches, with one arm and smiling. He banged.
Whoa,
constantly.
watch your mouth.
That's how I imagine.
No,
that's how I imagine Big D was.
But listen, I just want to preface it by saying that my wife, it was the first time in my life that I felt fear of like losing someone, so I never have. And her and I, since the day we met, which is now 15 years ago, we've been married for God's sake, I got engaged to her like a couple months after we met. We have a rule that is, if you ever cheat, there's no second chance. The door is closed. It is broken. If I caught her cheating like this, she would calmly get the keys. She would see the back of the door. She would lose custody to our daughter. There's no question. If I cheat, I told her, don't accept an apology, nothing. It's broken. So if either of us did something stupid, it's over. There's no second chances. And when you do that and there's true consequence, I think people respect it more. I'm never going to take you back, and I wouldn't expect her to either.
I do feel like there's there's like a red zone for cheating, where it's like, at least for me, where it's like when you're in your, I don't know, teens or 20s, being faithful is really tough. Like, you get the hormones are going crazy, and there's just like, your lifestyle exposes you to like a ton of people your age who are single as well. I think as you like, I don't know, now in my late 30s, it's like, it just seems like it would be a lot of work.
Yes.
Like, I'm just like, I'm just not that interested. Like I have challenges just being interested in my partner, like much less like a second person. I'm just like, I'm pretty good.
I'd be more likely to like lie about wanting some alone time. I might leave work early, not to cheat, but to be like, I think I'm going to go see a movie alone.
Have you ever? Yeah, I was gonna say, have you ever made your partner believe that you were cheating just so you could like spend the entire day playing Xbox? No, like, because I think in recent relationships that I've been in, they would like to hear that I'm interested in another person versus I just don't want you to be here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I need to be by myself. Like, I'm kind of sick of you.
I got to tell a really short Xbox story about Roger Roper. So when The Division came out, as a gift, I bought it for him. And his girlfriend was like, she gave me a look. And I was like, I didn't know what that look was all about. And so he starts the game, I think it was a Friday. And I was like a level 15, I think. So I had you have your little storage box where you keep all of your stuff. And so I'm like storing away weapons I've been playing the game for about 6 months. I was like at level 15. I put all this stuff in this box. And so then we finally got to play, like, I think it was like a Monday. We finally got to play together. And I was like, hey, Raj, come over to the safe house. I'm going to give you all these weapons that are going to be awesome. You use them. He's like, what level are they? I was like, 15. He goes, yeah, I can't use that. What level were you at that time?
I had maxed out my levels in 3 days. 3 days.
So you're like, what was like 200 something, or what the hell?
I was level.
So you can't use any of the weapons.
I was level 99, like the highest level.
His girlfriend's like, yeah, I leave for work. He's playing this fucking game. I get home from work. He's playing this fucking game. I had no idea. This is when I was getting introduced to the obsessive personality that is Roger Roper. It's terrifying.
Yeah. Well, speaking of obsessive personalities, do you think Tony Scott is obsessed with being a hack? Like, I don't understand why you guys like him so much. All of his movies, with the exception of Top Gun and maybe Days of Thunder, are just complete shit.
I just want to point out that you're calling a guy out who made True Romance, Crimson Tide,
Terrible.
The Hunger,
Terrible.
Enemy of the State.
Nope.
You're out of your mind. This guy's he's a great. I'm not saying this is a great movie, but he's a great director.
No.
There was a problem with this movie behind the scenes. Tony Scott has come out and said he feels he didn't do the Shane Black script justice. He feels bad for it. And the problem came down to Bruce Willis's ego, Joel Silver, the producer, and then Tony Scott were all in a wrestling match for who would be in charge. It got to the point where Joel Silver stepped in and started forcing them to shoot scenes that were not in the script and cobble them together. And he threatened to actually fire Tony Scott. So Tony Scott started filming these scenes almost in protest and made them bad because he thought they were going to have to go back to what the original script was. And Joel Silver is such a well-known, renowned dirtbag in Hollywood that the studio had a 30-picture deal with him. After this, they broke it and bought him out. And there's a story in Hollywood that to show you what kind of guy Joel Silver is. Joel Silver had a girlfriend, and the girlfriend was young and beautiful. And she said, "Hey, can you put me in one of your movies?" She's like, "Yeah, I'll definitely put you in. Definitely put her in." He put her in Die Hard. Do you know what role he gave his girlfriend in Die Hard?
Hans Gruber.
No, she is the topless, half-naked girl who Ellis is having sex with in the office and runs out naked. She's unaccredited. And to show you just how this broke the relationship between Silver and Scott, Tony Scott's next movie was True Romance. Do you remember that dirtbag, cokehead producer? That was based on Joel Silver. So the problem here isn't Tony Scott being a hack. It's Joel Silver and Bruce Willis trying to take over the movie.
Yeah, I feel like Joel Silver is the embodiment or the personification of every political cartoonist propaganda against, Hollywood elites and Hollywood, the culture of Hollywood. Joel Silver is, like you said, a complete scumbag. It's such like a fucking shit power move too. Be like, oh, super hot model that's 20 years younger than me. You want to be in movies? I'm going to get you fucking topless and not even give you credit and not even fucking pay you. Like this is the same problem I have at True Romance. True Romance feels like a shitty Tarantino film. Same with Shane Black. Shane Black is dark. He has meta jokes about Hollywood. If you've ever seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, like that's the epitome of a Shane Black movie. This movie is not that. This movie is a terrible mismanagement of what I think is a brilliant script. And I'm glad that both Joel Silver and Tony Scott, before he passed away, came out and admitted their failures on this. And so, I just feel bad for Shane Black, right? I mean, I guess I don't feel bad for him. He's a fucking multimillionaire and works in fucking Hollywood and is best friends with Robert Downey Jr. But at the end of the day, I feel like this movie could have been a lot better. Joe meets Corey at a strip club where she works. He argues with Corey's boyfriend's former Stallions quarterback, Jimmy Dix, played by Damon Wayans, who was banned from the league on gambling charges and alleged drug use. An annoyed Jimmy takes Corey from the stage while she is performing. Joe walks outside, is knocked out by a team of hitmen, but escapes, and Corey is stopped in traffic and killed by another group of hitmen. Jimmy is also fired upon and pinned down, but Joe saves him.
First of all, I want to say I've never been out to LA, but I don't know if LA strip clubs have some kind of like costume themes. Corey, she's doing some theme dance in a cowgirl outfit. She's got props. This looks like Roger Roper's dream strip club, to where it's some cosplay mixed with hot, young, attractive women. But Halle Berry looked amazing. And I could not believe in this movie she was only 24 years old. But today, have you seen her? She's 52 and she looks like maybe she's aged 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I like this scene better when it was in Sin City. When it was Jessica
You mean
Alba.
20 years later?
And Bruce Willis is still there. No, the problem that I have with Halle Berry is her acting is atrocious. Like, I don't know if she was also sleeping with Joel Silver, and this was just like, a thank you for her to get into the movie. Like, the way that she's delivering lines is really, really terrible, completely unbelievable. I don't even like Damon Wayans in this movie. Guys, I hate this movie. I'm sorry. I hate it.
So you mean Academy Award winning Halle Berry?
Yeah.
You didn't like her at 24?
No, listen, I don't like Harrison Ford acting in Star Wars either. He'll be the first one to tell you, like, that was my first, that was my shitty 30-year-old self, up on the screen. Like, I can't even watch it. If Halle Berry were to watch herself now acting as a 24-year-old stripper in this movie, she would say the same thing. She would say, like, listen, I was green. I needed more reps. It was my first movie. Again, she's beautiful. She's fantastic, but not even a half-naked Halle Berry can save this movie for me.
All right, break it up, both of you. I got something to say for both of you. First of all, Big D. LA has strip clubs like Jumbo's Clown Room. Like, they definitely have strip clubs where there are costumes, but the bigger issue isn't the costuming, it's never in a strip club does the server also strip. That's is right. Two separate jobs. I shouldn't say never. Very rarely.
Yeah. You've obviously never been to Cafe Risque in Ocala, Florida, or in between Ocala and Gainesville, Florida. But have you guys ever dated a stripper? Like, have you ever, because Jimmy, Damon Wayans' character this is his girlfriend. This is Corey. Have you guys ever dated? Like, it's always kind of been on my bucket list. And I really want to know what the true experience is like.
No, I've never dated a stripper. And if I did, I would not be telling the bartender in the club that she strips that I just cheated on her. Because there's 100% chance that information will get back to Corey.
So I have dated a stripper, and also you can't go into the bar and acknowledge that you're that stripper's boyfriend. And likewise, they don't acknowledge that you. That's bad for business. That is like strictly verboten. So you don't do that. But it is not the glamorous life you think it would be, Raj. So the stripper that I dated worked out in Apache Junction. And she was at a place called Desert Flame. And so she lived in a trailer.
Oh.
And I bought her as a birthday gift. This is when like personalized.
You bought her
things.
As a birthday gift? Like she showed up to your house?
Yes.
Did you really?
No, there's a comma there. I bought her, comma, as a birthday gift, comma. So this is what happens when you allow people to finish sentences, is you get to hear the rest of the story. So I bought her, comma, as a birthday gift, comma. Do you remember when personalized things like from the internet was a new thing? Like you could get like when Zazzle first came on, you're like, oh
yeah.
So I bought her a clock that had a Marilyn Manson face to it. So like the back of the clock was Marilyn Manson, and then there's a clock. She cried. She said, "This is the nicest thing anyone's ever gotten for me."
Wow.
But anyway, so one night I'm over at the trailer and I'm sleeping in her like. It didn't even have doors. It just had a corner of the trailer, basically. And somebody stops by and she's like, "I'll be right back." So she gets out of bed. And by bed, I mean a mattress on the ground. And she goes out in the living room. She's gone for a while. And I later found out that basically like their dealer would drop by occasionally, her and her roommate. And they would like basically blow him or bang him or whatever to get drugs. And meanwhile, like, you know, like the sad stepson, I'm just like sleeping in the other room like, well, I wonder who this guy is.
I think you've just ruined the glamorous life of a stripper. You have some ladies in the audience now questioning their career choice.
Yeah, Apache Junction is the Florida of Arizona. Like there's stories constantly of Florida men and Florida women that live out of their trailer and then have almost like McDonald's drive-through meth lanes that you can just drive up. They don't even get out of the trailer. They just kind of lean over, give you your meth, and you drive on. Those are recently busted here in Central Florida.
Well, to kind of try to pull us back into the movie, what I like that they do in this movie particular, you said Die Hard, you have John McClane's an everyday man. Here, we're led to believe that Hallenbeck is just some bum. He's sleeping in his car. He doesn't look like much. But then they slowly start to roll out the backstory. He does that special miraculous catches Dix's punch with his hand and pushes him back over. He does the broken bottle comedy routine and shanks the big pimp looking motherfucker. We start to see his backstory in little bits to where the amazing things that he's doing on screen, we start to understand why and start to buy into him. But in the beginning, we're doubting him like Jimmy. You couldn't even guard a warm cup of piss.
Well, the problem that I have is their friendship. What emerges is their friendship. Now, Shane Black has done this effectively before. He also wrote Lethal Weapon. Is that right, Big D? I'm not.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to fact check me? Okay.
No.
Because Die Hard was released in 1988. This movie was released in 1991. So there's only 3 movies. And in that time, Bruce Willis, I guess, made a lot of shit in between that. So that's my fault for not knowing that. But Shane Black did sell the movie for Lethal Weapon. So he's done buddy cop movies together, interracial buddies together, like with a real wild card, and you have like a funny, a funny character. Damon Wayans is playing that funny character, right? Because Dixon seems like all over the place. Like, why is he in the fucking strip club? Why is he still dressing like Cam Newton? Why is he still going to NFL parties? Like, I don't get it.
Well, I think that he's part of that fraternity, and also he's not broke. Like, dude still has money. He's just not playing anymore. But I agree that as much as I'm willing to believe the Bruce Willis, Secret Service backstory, the Damon Wayans NFL quarterback thing. Nothing about him says quarterback, whether it's physique or demeanor. And they try to get him to deliver some like quasi tough lines that just don't work. And that scene where he hits the lineman in the nose with the football, who's like trying to force a woman to blow him in the hot tub, and he goes, "Best arm in the National Football League. Remember that, you fat bitch." And it's like,
No, you
I
fat
was like,
fuck.
is he play-
You fat fuck.
You fat fuck. Yeah.
Remember that, you fat fuck. It's totally flubbed and effeminate. I'm not kidding. I thought when this opened, I was like, wait, is Damon Wayans playing a gay character in this movie? Like, that makes it really cool. Like, if he was a gay quarterback, that would have been amazing.
Okay, no, you're saying he has money. Yes, he has $650 leather pants, but he's driving like a Pontiac red convertible. I don't know how much money he's got.
No, but he also, well, I think that was his secondary car. That was the car that he had, that he probably rented from Enterprise Rent-A-Car he had a Jaguar initially, I think, in that opening car chase scene.
Yes, you're
Yeah. So I think that was his,
you're right.
That was his his Pontiac rental car. But can we talk about his fucking jacket? Like, again, I think Cam Newton saw this movie and was like, yeah, I'm dressing like that when I make it to the NFL. But I don't understand the wardrobing choice. Okay, so the Stallions are based in LA. Like, first of all, he's wearing a varsity jacket. Like, which NFL player wears a leather high school jacket of the team that they're playing on?
Raj, this might explain why you're confused by this movie, because you're not paying attention. That is his varsity jacket.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, so when Bruce Willis's daughter, Darian, she asks him, she's like, "What's that number on the back? Like, what's that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's my high school number." It's his high school jacket. And
so he went,
and it's what?
So he went to high school in Arizona?
No, it's not an Arizona flag. It's a Tibetan flag.
It's a Tibetan flag? Why does it have
Yeah.
I thought it has a football helmet, like a copper football helmet. You know how people take the star in the Arizona flag, which, by the way, best fucking flag in the Union.
Yeah,
Why
it's
does
right up there with Louisiana, just a pelican.
Roger get distracted by those shiny things. He saw the shiny helmet.
I didn't understand it. Also, he's a quarterback. Quarterbacks don't wear number 89, and he's wearing this fez
maybe in
hat.
high school.
Maybe. I don't know. I found it very unbelievable. If you're going to have his wardrobe choices, at least say something about them. I guess they kind of do with the 650 pant. I don't know. I hate this movie. Sorry, guys.
Listen, I have a Guess Letterman jacket from when I was in high school. It's got a Scottish tartan on it. It's got a unicorn on it. I think it's got some sort of a peacock on it. This was the 90s, man. You got a leather jacket. They put fucking anything on it. Nobody cares. The hat, though, I don't get that.
At Corey's house, Jimmy and Joe find a taped phone conversation between Senator Calvin Baynard, who is leading a congressional investigation into gambling in sports, and Stallions owner Sheldon Marconi. When the tape is ruined in Joe's faulty car stereo, Jimmy realizes that Corey tried using the tape against Marconi to put Jimmy back on the team, prompting Marconi to send the hitmen. Joe saves Jimmy from a second car bomb and manages to trick the two hitmen into blowing themselves up, but the explosion destroys the remaining evidence.
Look, I know it's the 90s, and these explosions they look good, but I don't know if they really make sense in this movie. At this point, I felt like it was very much the kind of, as you said, the Michael Bay sort of treatment of everything blows up, anything you touch blows up. You shoot a trunk, it's going to happen to hit the C4. And then as soon as I hear the mention of C4, immediately I'm like, Big D's going to say something about C4.
Okay, yes, I do have to say something about C4. Just like you have to, if there's any kind of martial arts and knife work, you would jump in. So this would not happen. Okay. C4 is a variety of plastic explosive. They infuse a plastic binding material, and it makes the explosive less sensitive to shock and heat. So you need some kind of an explosion to set it off, whether it's a blasting cap or det cord. But no, C4 is extremely stable. You'd need a considerable shock to set it off. This would not work. You could shoot it. You could burn it. Just don't combine those two together. So no, this would not happen. But it looks good.
Yeah, but if you do find some C4 laying around, be sure to call Bruce Willis, because he can also, in addition to all of his other abilities, he can also disarm bombs. And this is where I'm like really confused by the movie, because I start to realize there's an absence of something in Los Angeles, and it's the police. The police show up talking in the station, but they're never actually out of the station doing anything. And I'm sorry, but if I found a bomb in the car, I'm not going to be like, well, I would get the fuck away from it, call an explosive ordnance team to come in and deal with it. And I just want to know, like, Why are they not investigating the bombings? Why are they not investigating the killings? They go to Halle Berry's house after she's killed. The cops haven't even been there. But a very, 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 very artistic ransacking team was there that was like made sure that the curtains were flowing properly and the wind, the TV was on, just showing static.
Yes.
Really, really nice job there.
Yeah, and they left the drugs. They left the drugs for Jimmy to find.
Yeah,
it.
they left the
They left the drugs for Jimmy. The problem, I guess maybe it's the police. Hallenbeck doesn't want to go to the police because he feels like there's like this weird respect for him because apparently he saved the president, but then there's also this disdain for him because he's a private investigator, and I guess police look down upon private. I don't know. I'm with you. This movie doesn't make fucking sense.
But you also missed the part. Now the car exploded. It flipped over. The police show up and Joe says, "Hey, Jimmy, get out of here. You don't need the heat." Jimmy's got a pocket full of drugs. The police don't see this dude wearing like leather pants and a jacket and that hat running away from the scene of an explosion.
Joe reveals to Jimmy that when he was in the Secret Service, he witnessed Senator Boehner torturing a woman in a hotel room and thwarted the attack. Boehner fired Joe from the Secret Service for refusing to cover up the incident. And at Joe's house, Jimmy meets Joe's abrasive daughter, Darian. Joe catches Jimmy using drugs in the bathroom and then kicks him out. As Jimmy leaves, Darian tells him that Joe was his biggest fan and never watched another game after he was banned from the league. Jimmy leaves her with a signed football card to the daughter of the last Boy Scout.
So that's why they call it that.
Oh, that's it.
So I'm going to disagree with you guys here. I think the chemistry between Willis and Wayans is great. I think it has to be up there with some of the best reluctant cop buddy pairings of the 80s and 90s. I think it's up there with Gibbs and Glover and Lethal Weapon, even Murphy and Nolte in 48 Hours, Connery and Cage and The Rock, some more new stuff like Smith and Lawrence and Bad Boys. I love it. I think their chemistry is great. The way they go back and forth and fuck with each other, I think it's great.
No, absolutely not. I don't think there's any kind of chemistry between Willis and Wayans whatsoever. It's like when Willis joined Tracy Morgan in the Kevin Smith directed Cop Out. Like they both fucking hated each other. Kevin Smith is on record that saying Bruce Willis was just an asshole on set, was an asshole to him, was an asshole to Tracy Morgan. It was the worst directing experience in his life. I feel like it was the same issue on set here. Assistant director James, I think, what is that? Scotchtapole? Anyway, the assistant director attributed the fact that Wayans and Willis never got along on set because there was such an overabundance of alpha males. Bruce, again, was at the height of his stardom. So was Joel Silver. So was Tony Scott. And so was Shane Black. You had to imagine there was just a ton of people who had a lot of opinions and fucking, it was the early 90s. So Me Too was totally accepted and everyone's on fucking cocaine. So you can imagine like all this testosterone going around. You can tell on screen, it's just forced.
Yeah, you're talking about testosterone behind the scenes. This is a time capsule. And I'm not here to be the PC correctness warrior and say, oh, everything is terrible now and be the fucking champion of political correctness, because I'm not. But it is shocking with some of the stuff you see in these 90s movies. There's a line there. I kind of cringe when I hear somebody say fag. It's shocking to me.
Yeah.
And the way that they abuse women in this, it goes above and beyond. You have that woman chained up and Senator Boehner has her like she's a hostage and whipping her. It's an uneasy feeling that you can show these things without having it be this gleefully done. And I don't want people to say, oh, you're a fucking, what do they call us? What do they say?
Social justice warrior, SJWs.
Yeah, we're not, but it's just, there's a way you can do it that it's not so just over the top gleefully 90s like this.
Yeah, well, if House of Cards has taught me anything, it's that the Secret Service would probably cover up or join in the politicians torturing women. But yeah, no, it really is truly a time capsule. It's shocking. We said this when we first watched The Breakfast Club. I think there's spray painted on one of the lockers like, go home faggot or fuck you faggot. And we were like, whoa, hell, that's like seeing the N-word. You're like, whoa, like that's not who we are anymore. We've progressed as a generation.
One of the things with this movie, Raj, as you mentioned, kind of this layering on. There's the whole idea of less is more or addition through subtraction. And I think this movie suffers from the opposite, that it's like they were like, oh, you know what? Let's have Bruce Willis have this daughter, Darian, and there's a strained relationship there. on top of the strained relationship with the wife, and let's do an affair too, and then let's have Damon Wayans, but he's got a drug problem, and let's also have some stress between him and his girlfriend, and let's bring in the football, and where I hit the breaking point was with then we have the Alex, the son. Like I had a son once with my other wife. And she died, and Alex, my son, and I'm just it was this melodramatic come down, and if they could have taken that entire family element out of this movie, it would have been a better movie. Just focus on the things that are working, which is the action, the Bruce Willis one-liners, that all works for you.
Yeah.
More Milo, less Darian. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. Who walks in LA in the early 90s, late 80s? No one. Because you're going to get hit by a fucking van. You don't take your pregnant wife walking down the streets of La Brea. Are you fucking kidding me? There's no sidewalks in La Brea. Of course not. Of course she's going to get killed. Well, the police believe that Joe killed Mike and moved to an arrest, but Milo, Marconi's top henchman, captures Joe first and shoots a detective using Joe's gun. Marconi explains to Joe that he has been buying Senate votes to legalize sports gambling, but that Boehner tried to blackmail Marconi for $6 million. Marconi says that it would be cheaper to kill the senator and frame Joe for the murder. Joe is forced to hand a briefcase with money to Boehner's bodyguards, who switched it with an explosive briefcase. Joe is rescued by Jimmy and Darian. Again, Darian, like the 12-year-old daughter, and acquires both briefcases after running the bodyguards and Milo off the road. Milo survives, though, and abducts Darian.
So I'm going to take an unpopular stance here. We have Die Hard. We have this movie. We have the two characters, John McClane, Joe Hallenbeck. McClane, he's NYPD. He's got yippee-ki-yay motherfucker. His signature kill was the pistol taped to his back. He shoots Gruber out the window. His special abilities are he can shimmy down an elevator shaft. He can run, on broken glass and barefoot. Then you have Hallenbeck. He's private detective, but former Secret Service. He took a bullet for the president. His memorable quote is, "The sky is blue, water's wet, women have secrets." He can block a punch with his hand. He can kill a man with one punch. If it comes down to it, a loved one of yours is in a secluded area and you needed one person to protect that loved one, do you pick Joe Hallenbeck or John McClane?
I go McClane all the way. Now, Hallenbeck is more deadly. I agree. Like if you're saying like if it was one-on-one, I go Hallenbeck. But McClane is careful. He's realistic. He, even Die Hard, he's reaching out for help. He's getting Al on the phone. Like he's doing it the right way. Hallenbeck is reckless. He'd be too busy making jokes.
Yeah, John McClane all the way. And I think you posted this on Twitter.
Yeah.
It was 86% of people agreed with Jane and I.
Yes.
John McClane over Hallenbeck. And Hallenbeck's too much of a loose cannon. I mean, and I don't know. Just keep a fucking stable of cigarettes around Hallenbeck to keep him calm. But again, the daughter's a fucking psychopath. How old is she? How is she hitchhiking in LA, which is like, I think this is the same year as the riots in LA. So LA is not a safe place.
She's got a gun.
Is she a sociopath? Yeah, but she's hitchhiking.
She's got a gun.
To give safe. To give her father's gun to an NFL druggie that dates strippers. Like what is going through her head? How is this believable?
First of all, I can tell you're verging on 40 because you just used the term druggie. All right, Dad. But anyway, I think they established that she's like 14. I think she's supposed to be like 14 years old. She looks like a very young 14. She's still got a fucking stuffed animal.
Fuck you, Dad. You're a loser, Dad.
No, she plays with a fucking puppet.
Yeah.
She's a fucking psychopath.
Furry Tom. Come on.
And all right, so what's more believable? A 14-year-old with sociopathic tendencies, she's a fucking carrying around a fucking puppet with a gun in it and hitchhiking her way to meet a guy that she's only met one time, or the fact that they're having high-speed chases on the streets of LA.
Oh, I mean, look, at this point, the movie's completely detached from reality. I mean, you see, Damon Wayans gets thrown off of a freaking overpass and lands on a car and gets up and he's like, "All right, folks, let's see here. Ooh, I'm gonna fall over." It's fucking, the movie's lost its mind at this point. And so I would say, yeah, you're not having high-speed chases in LA. you're not, and also this kid is going to be locked up in juvie somewhere at this point.
And don't disparage Furry Tom. He's got one of the best lines. Ha! Furry Tom thinks this is the first pussy any of you have seen in a while, especially that fat fuck. I want more Furry Tom.
When fucking Bruce Willis puts on that fucking puppet, I lost it. I was like, fuck this movie.
Amen.
Heading to the stadium, Joe and Jimmy are captured and escorted to Marconi's office. Jimmy uses a shredder shotgun shell to create a diversion, allowing them to fight their way free. Realizing that Milo will attempt to shoot Baynard, Joe goes after him while sending Jimmy to warn the senator. Grabbing the game ball while riding a fucking horse, Jimmy throws it at Baynard, knocking him down just as Milo starts shooting. Joe knocks Milo to the edge of the stadium light platform where SWAT officers shoot him several times. Milo then falls into, this is real, the moving rotor blades of a police helicopter that for some reason is in the stadium.
Buzzing the crowd.
The briefcase of money is recovered, and Marconi, having escaped with the rigged briefcase, is killed when he opens it at his estate. The next day, Joe and Sarah reconcile, and Joe and Jimmy decide to become partners. End fucking movie.
So listening to your description there, you're right. He's riding the horse, throwing the football. Why is like horse football not a sport? Like polo, but football with horses. Okay, neither of one of you are buying into that?
How do you tackle?
No.
How do you tackle?
You just
Exactly.
fucking you just hit him. You can knock him off the horse. Fuck it. Okay, we'll skip that idea. I still like it. But am I right in this? Hallenbeck is going to jail, right? He's got to.
Yeah.
He lied to
sure.
the police about Mike and that his wife was there. He's still wanted for murder of that cop, that his DNA and his fingerprints are all over that gun, which was a legit frame job. He killed 2 of Marconi's guards in that limo. He stole the pool guy's car at gunpoint that he stuck a gun to his daughter's head. Then also he knocked out the 2 cops at the stadium, and then he punched a senator twice. He's going to jail, right?
Oh, well, I just love how, like, it was so easy in the 80s and 90s to explain how to frame someone by just rubbing their fingerprints on it. Just rub some fingerprints on them and it'll be fine. Like, now in today's, like, CSI and all that, there'd be, you can't prove someone just on that. And how are they going to be able to read the fingerprints on that gun?
You'd be surprised when it's a dead cop.
Fuck yeah.
They're gonna go, hey, he had motive.
Yeah.
He had motive. You knew he
Lying
was
to
going
the
to meet up
police.
with him.
Yep.
And he's got his
Right.
fingerprints on the gun. That's it. He's going to fucking prison.
Mm-hmm. Hallenbeck's gonna be meeting some new friends.
Right. Again, the problem that I have with the scene is the same problem I had with the previous scene when Darian gives her dad, played by Bruce Willis, the puppet. I was like, no, he's not going to put on the he's not going to fucking put on the puppet, is he? I thought the same thing when I saw Damon Wayans look at the horse. Damon Wayans, at this point, his character has had his hand shot through, and all he does is just kind of rub some gauze on it. And I thought to myself, is he going to fucking ride that horse? Yep. He's going to ride that horse with a fucking bullet in his hands and then be able to throw, like, at least what, a 90-yard bullet of a pass that actually does stop a real actual sniper bullet. Does leather prevent bullets? Does it deflect bullets? No, it's going to fucking shoot right through that.
Okay, let's go to the ballistics on this. The football didn't stop the bullet. It made the senator move his head.
Yes.
And the bullet struck the football. He moved to avoid the football, so he moved out of the way, just to get him out of the way. But then the sniper rifle suddenly goes fully automatic, which is like, what the fuck,
Right.
gun without a silencer. And then also the rotor blade thing, when the guy falls through the helicopter rotor blades are not sharp. It's not a blender. It's a blunt object. You would just get hit really hard and splatter. Not like, I was just like, what the fuck is that all about? And that helicopter is going down. A guy drops into your rotor. A fucking bird hits your rotor. You're in trouble. A human being?
100%. You talk about the horse. He better get a contract after that throw because he is the best quarterback in the league.
That's right.
Yeah, he doesn't even plant his feet and he manages to toss that thing.
Oh, God. Speaking of feet, has Bruce Willis ever danced in any other movie?
I don't think he should have danced in this
I
one.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If not, we know why. The fucking jig at the end. Fuck you, Bruce Willis. Fuck you.
Isn't the term the jig? Like, where's that from?
Yeah. Oh, that's totally. Yeah. It's a jigaboo, which I believe is a
this
racist term.
Oh, you believe it's a racist term? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
How was that okay? Oh my God. It was the 90s. I don't know. Social justice warriors. Shat The Movies.
What are you talking about? Jig? No. The jig is not.
I think it is.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the Irish adopted
dancing-
the term
yeah.
jig as, oh my God.
Is it? Somebody write in, please.
Hold on. All right. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's not-
So black men were famous in the height of racism in America for dancing the jig, and that's what they would call it. You would call people in America call black people jigaboos, and the form of dancing they would say, "Oh, you're dancing the jig," so that means you're dancing like a jigaboo.
No,
which is a racist term.
No,
So
no,
yeah,
no.
100%.
The jig
style of
goes
dancing.
The jig goes
No.
back to like 16th
No.
century Europe.
Well,
dude.
hey, they were playing Irish music behind it.
This is 100%
No.
true though.
You-
But yes, they are playing Irish music as if not to say.
No, I think it's-
as if to whitewash.
I think it's a jig. I think
fact
you're right,
that
Gene.
jigaboo is-
No. So there's a French term gigue, which means to jump, and the Italian giga, and so the Irish called it the jig, which is short from giganai, which is the type of dance that it was. It was the end of a Baroque movement dance. It's not a fucking jigaboo.
All right, I'm gonna send you this film that was distributed amongst white nationalists in 1894 of 3 black men dancing the jig, and that's what they would call people.
Oh, I believe that part, but I don't think the origin
Yeah.
of the dance is
Oh
short
no,
for jigaboo.
no, obviously, but
Wow.
white nationalists
What-
coined the term.
Okay. So listen,
It's not what it was intended to be. Right.
normally when I rate a podcast before we submit it to iTunes, we have to put a rating scale in like PG-14 and it says coarse language, sexual references, vulgar. I don't, we've said about 5 things that I think we're going to have to mark this like extremely explicit.
Rated J for jig.
Well, now's the time of the podcast where we break out our Shat meters and give you our wipe scores. If you've never listened to the podcast before, Zero Wipes is a great movie. It's when you go into the bathroom and you wipe yourself, and there's nothing there to wipe. It's done. It's clean. It's perfect. Absolutely. 5 wipes is where you're using the double ply, 2-in-1 toilet paper, and you still just can't seem to get yourself clean back there. So 0 wipes is good. 5 wipes is terrible. We'll start with you, Gene. How many wipes do you give this movie?
Raj, I got to agree with you that Bruce Willis is the only thing that works with this movie. It's the only thing that makes the movie tolerable. Everything in this movie that I like has a counterbalance. So, like, I like Bruce Willis, but then Damon Wayans ruins that. I like the Brazilian quips and the one-liners, but then the really bad dialogue ruins that. The plot starts with this nonsensical suicide just to grab our attention. It's a cheap gag. And then it ends with this giant cliched, like bungled mess of story spaghetti. It's just all over the place. They couldn't pare it down, but I was entertained watching it. So it wasn't like painful to watch. It wasn't Tron bad. So for me, this is a below average movie, but I see where the potential is. And on Bruce Willis's merit alone, I'll give it 3 wipes.
Big D, how many wipes say you?
I think that this movie had a lot of laughs. The action sequences are thrilling. There's a lot of surprises from the start, from a football player pulling out a gun. I think the way that they get Willis and Wayne's in and out of trouble's inventive. Yeah, it feels very 90. There's a lot of slow motion, big action sequences using practical effects. The editing is beyond comprehension. But I got to tell you, honestly, it was a lot of fun for me. I thought that the Shane Black script, yes, it didn't do it justice, the final product, but it's an entertaining hour and 45 minutes, whatever it is, thrill ride. It doesn't stop. The script is the centerpiece and the strong point of this. It's unconventionally funny. I loved it, and maybe I'm biased because of my emotional tie to it. I think it's a wipe better than average. So I think a 1.5 is fair.
I can't believe it was less than 2 hours. This movie felt like 3 hours long. It was only 1:45.
Yeah, it's only an hour and 45 minutes. Yeah. I had to restart and stop this movie, or I had to stop and restart this movie multiple times because it did feel super long. It felt like Robin Hood, the Kevin Costner film. Like it was that long, that drawn out. You talk about they don't stop the movie, Big D. I'll give you a perfect example. When Jimmy and Joe go back to his house and interact with Darian, and they tell the entire story about how his first wife died and she was pregnant, and how his son, Chris, or whatever he fucking named
Alex.
his star, Alex, whatever, Alex could have been an accountant, but he only died. He only lived 13 days. He had
17 minutes.
That whole scene,
17 minutes.
That whole scene was so fucking long. This movie is a classic case of 1980s, early 90s Hollywood excess. Too many egos, too much money, too much PCP. Which was, completely on display during production. Big D, you talked about it. The original cut of the film was a unwatchable work print. Different editors had to be hired in an attempt to address Tony Scott's tendency for filming excess coverage with multiple cameras. Now, the original editor, Mark Helfrich, described sorting through mountains of raw material in order to edit the first cut. He said there was more footage shot on The Last Boy Scout than any film he had ever worked on. Warner Brothers began testing the movie before it was completely finished, and studio executives then fretted about the expanding budget, while less than enthusiastic reactions from test screening audiences came in. They did not like the character played by Bruce Willis. He was completely unlikable to these screeners, so they started fucking messing with the film too, which turns out, as Gene says, a fucking spaghetti mess of a movie. This movie was a drudge. I felt like I was climbing uphill in a fucking New York November nor'easter slush storm. I don't do this often. I typically try and reserve this score for truly the worst of the worst, but I've got to give it for this because I hated every minute I watched it. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry for this, but it is a 5 white movie for me. This is terrible. I do apologize. I wanted to like this movie. I just couldn't. But if we were to add those scores, 1.5, 3, and 5, that brings us an average of what, Gene?
Raj, between a 3, a 5, and a 1.5, we get an average of 3.16 wipes for The Last Boy Scout.
And Big D, where does that put that in the pantheon of Shat?
So this is movie number 91. That puts it in the 63 spot. It is worse than Commando, Revenge of the Nerds, Christmas Vacation. It is better than The Lost Boys, Caddyshack, and Weird Science.
Oh, I agree with the first part. I disagree with the latter.
I thought it was a 1.5 white movie, so I think it should have been higher.
It's almost exactly where I rated it, so I'm happy.
Yeah. The system works. Big D, what movie are we doing next? Again, sorry, Edwin. I do apologize for this, and I warned you up front that it would be like this. Big D, what movie are we doing next?
So next week, we have another commissioned podcast. Woo. The movie is about...
Christmas money.
No, this is server money. This is Libsyn money.
yeah, we got to fucking pay our bills.
So the movie is about a cynical TV weatherman who finds himself reliving the same day over and over again when he goes on location to a small town in Puxatawney, Pennsylvania. His predicament drives him to distraction until he sees a way to turn the situation to his advantage. It was released in February of 1993, and it was directed by Harold Ramis. So stay to the end and hear what movie it is. But it's going to be a good one.
So excited for this. Can't wait. After Under Siege and Last Boy Scout, I'm ready for this upcoming movie. Well, that concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us everywhere on social media and share with a friend. We're everywhere, including Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. Just search for shatthemovies.com. Our Facebook is Shat the Movies Podcast. Our website, where you can vote on upcoming films, is shatthemovies.com. If you have a recommendation for an upcoming movie theme, just email us, hosts@shatthemovies.com. We're everywhere fine podcasts can be found, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by any of those, please be sure to leave a 5-star review. That does help the podcast grow. You can also check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, and Game of Thrones. You can find all the information on our website, shatontv.com. On behalf of my co-hosts, Big D, Dick Ebert, and Gene Lyons, I'm Roger Roper. Be sure to join us next week for the following commission podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Take care. Good night and good luck.
Groundhog time.
1,000 people freezing their butts off waiting to worship a rat.
Weatherman Phil Connors is spending the day in Puxatawney, Pennsylvania.
Phil? Ned Ryerson, I did the whistling belly button trick at the high school talent show.
Bing!
Bing!
But Phil's about to find out. He's not just stuck in Puxatawney.
Will you be checking out today, Mr. Connors?
Chance of departure today, 100%.
He's stuck in Groundhog Day.
I'm reliving the same day over and over.
Bill?
Ned Ryerson?
Bang!
Do you ever have deja vu, Mrs. Lancaster?
I don't think so, but I could check with the kitchen.
Well, it's Groundhog Day. Again?
At first, he was a little anxious.
Bill? What?
Will you be checking out today, Mr. Connors?
I'd say the chance of departure is 80%.
But now,
We could do whatever we want.
he's discovering the possibilities
Don't you worry about cholesterol?
Why?
and living life like there's no tomorrow.
Phil Connors!
Ned!
Because there isn't.
I am an immortal. I have been stabbed, shot, burned, frozen, electrocuted. I'm a god.
You're God.
I'm a god. I'm not the god. He's out of his gourd.
But to get what his heart wants most
What are you looking for, Phil? A date for the weekend?
means living this day over again till he gets it right.
Believe it or not, I studied 19th century French poetry.
What a waste of time.
I studied 19th century French poetry.
La fille qui j'aimerais.
You speak French.
Oui.
Bill Murray, Andy McDowell,
To the groundhog.
I always drink to world peace. But what should we drink to?
I like to say a prayer and drink to world peace. Don't drive angry. Don't drive angry. He might be okay.
Life has a funny way of repeating itself.
What did you do today?
Oh, same old, same old.